Well, hello everyone. Here we are, week 34 of our chronological Bible readings for 2023. And this week, we're going to go to that little book of Habakkuk, one of my favorites, and back to Jeremiah and then Lamentations. But let's do a rundown. Let's start with Habakkuk. Only 3 chapters, and really Habakkuk is a conversation between the man Habakkuk and the Lord. Problem is that Habakkuk thinks that the Lord isn't doing anything about the prevalent evil in the southern kingdom. So he's accusing God of doing nothing, but God fixes that pretty quickly and tells Habakkuk that not only is he doing something, but Habakkuk wouldn't believe it, what it is that he's doing. And then he tells him about the impending overthrow of the southern kingdom of Judah by the Chaldeans. Now, the Chaldeans are Babylonians. They're the southern Babylonians. I call them the redneck Babylonians. But nonetheless, that's what's going on. Habakkuk doesn't understand, but learns to trust the Lord. And by the time we get to the end of the book, you're going to see a different man than the one you saw at the beginning of the book. Habakkuk goes from accusing and angry to asking God for mercy and trusting that the Lord will carry out his good will. It's a great little book. Then we go to Jeremiah, and this week we are in chapters 41 to 52. So, what's going on at this time in Jeremiah's prophecy? Well, the overthrow has happened, and that's why Habakkuk is shortly before the overthrow. So now we're picking back up with Jeremiah. And there's a remnant. And they go to Jeremiah wanting to hear from the Lord, but what you find is they didn't want to hear from the Lord. They wanted the Lord to agree with what they already wanted to do. And so when Jeremiah gives the word of the Lord, not only do they not want to hear it, but they take him captive. In fact, he is forcibly taken to Egypt, and according to tradition, he dies there. Just a very sad time. We've already got the overthrow by the Chaldeans, and now we've got the rebellion continuing by the few people left. In chapters 45 through 51, you're going to find pronouncement on several places or several kingdoms even that God is going to deal with. And by the way, the Chaldeans or the Babylonians, they're one of them. So they're not going to get away with what they've done in overthrowing Judah. In fact, even back in the book of Habakkuk, God said that they wouldn't get away with it. In chapter 52, this goes back to 588 BC, a couple of years before the fall of the southern kingdom, and it kind of gives some details leading up to the fall in 586 BC when the temple is burned to the ground. And of course, Nebuchadnezzar takes so many of the people of Judah to Babylon to be in captivity for that 70-year time period. And by the way, some of those people had already been taken a few years earlier, but this is when the temple is actually burned to the ground. So then we make our way to Lamentations, and there are 5 chapters. So what's going on there? It is most often thought that Jeremiah would be the one who wrote Lamentations, and it's a collection of wailings. I mean, it's a sad book for the most part, because Judah has seen the temple be burned to the ground. They have seen the judgment of God upon them for their disobedience unto him. And there's just a lot of sorrow, a tremendous amount of sorrow. And that's what you read when you read Lamentations. But in the middle of the book, there is that wonderful little reminder that God is merciful and always faithful. If you're familiar with the old hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness, it's going to come from Lamentations 3. Well, I know that a lot of the reading this week is going to be pretty discouraging stuff, but remember something. We have to read those parts too, because the things that were happening in Habakkuk and in Jeremiah and Lamentations were happening because the professing people of God were living according to their own standards. And we can learn from that. When we disobey God, we need to expect discipline. Now, thankfully, God is merciful, He is gracious, but He is holy, and He has to deal with things appropriately, and He knows how to do that. I hope that this is a great week of reading for you. The Lord's Word is good, all of it, even the hard parts. Grace to you until next week.